Hey everybody, and welcome to On Nite New York City featuring XR Prize winners and finalists. Today we have a really special evening with 4 winners and finalists of the XR Prize Challenge to Fight Climate Change that AWE has been running in the past year. And we want to make sure that their amazing work continues to have an impact, spread the word, and thank you all for joining us in this special evening. So, first of all, where are you guys joining from? Let us know in the chat. AWE Live, for those who don't know, is a free online platform for the XR community to learn, connect, and grow. It hosts a non-stop stream of online XR events like this meetup. And it is now, and this is some of the sessions, some of the meetups that you can see on this platform. We have some great podcasts, some webinars, other meetups like this one. So just log into AWE Live and you can see what's happening almost every day of the year. On-Nite meetups are now running in over 35 cities around the world. We just had Mexico City join us. North Carolina is joining soon. So almost every place, every location around the world can have access to the local communities there and also connect to the global community that AWE kind of is bringing all these cities together on this platform. As you probably know, we just concluded a few weeks ago AWE USA in California. It was our biggest and probably best event yet. And the good news is that all the sessions are now available on our YouTube channel. Just look for AWE 2023 and you'll be able to watch all the sessions that you might have missed. And then after that, we have AWE Asia coming up in Singapore at the end of August. So if you're in that area or can travel, that is going to be a really cool event. And AWE Europe is coming back in October. And this year, for the first time, we'll do it in the beautiful Vienna. As you know, Austria has been the birthplace of some of the pioneering XR platforms out there like Wikitude and Vuforia. So we're really excited to bring AWE to Vienna. And AWE USA will come back next year in 2024 to a whole new location. We feel like we're leveling up AWE. We're reinventing it on the beach in Long Beach, California, near LA, where you'll see a lot more space. It's pretty much 2.5 size of the event space we had up until now. A lot more fun, a lot more networking opportunities, and a lot more business. So would love to see you there. Actually, tickets for 2024 are already available. This is the code for 20% discount for On-Nite members like yourselves for AWE EU. And there's also a code for AWE USA 2024, which is called the 24 Rebook. So if you're fast and register before the end of the month, you can get this incredibly low cost price to join next year. All right, more on the AWE side is the AWE Academy, which hosts different courses, some online, some pre-recorded. So here are some of the 2 courses that we have coming up in the next few months. And now that we've done this quick overview, here are amazing stars for today that will talk about the projects they have built as part of the XR Prize competition. But the master of ceremony today is going to be Dace Campbell, the XR Prize program manager, who has done a fantastic job taking this all the way from the early announcement we made last year through hundreds of submissions, several phases, bringing in mentors to help mentor the different teams, the judges, and of course, the final competition at AWE in California, where the winners were announced, and even one winner went home with a big check that was really kind of the culmination of this whole year of effort. So thank you, Dace, for the incredible work on this program. And as you can see, the work is not done. We want to continue promoting the use of XR to fight climate change, promote the amazing projects that took part in this competition. So with that said, give it up for Dace Campbell.
Thanks, Ori. Appreciate the kind words. Welcome everyone to this Awe Night. I want to say just a few brief introductory remarks about the XR Prize competition, the XR Prize challenge to fight climate change. As you already know, it was a competition for the past year with a grand prize of $100,000. I just want to run through just a few key points and statistics. I'll kind of round out what all took place. We start teams to advance to the MVP or minimum viable product stage. About 60% of those delivered. We had almost 100 submissions this spring. We rounded up some judges to review and score them, and narrowed it down then to 11 finalists who, as already mentioned, we had give live presentations to the judges at AWE in Santa Clara just a month ago. So what came out of that were 3 best in category winners and one grand prize winner. Besides those kinds of numbers, there's probably even more important numbers, and that's the impact that this competition has had and could potentially have in our fight against climate change. You can see some of the numbers up here on screen. I won't read them to you verbatim, but it's worth noting that between the 11 finalists, they were able to either demonstrate or calculate and project this kind of impact, and really in 3 major categories. One of which was the reduction of carbon and waste in the environment. Another metric or measurement was the amount of people reached, and people could be measured as individual persons or entire classrooms or museums or institutions. And then finally, the third major way that we have been able to measure the impact of XR on climate change is the actual amount of natural habitat that has been preserved and restored. That could be measured in terms of square mileage or number of species. There's any number of ways the teams found to measure that impact. But bottom line is, not just this competition, but the entire community that's been kind of surrounding this has come up with some pretty impactful ways to measure what XR can do in our fight against climate change. So back to the competition here real quick. There were 4 categories for the competitors to enter submissions into. One of those was replacing wasteful material practices. So the idea that XR as a digital medium and as a spatial medium can start to displace and replace wasteful practices in industry, cut down on air mileage as a digital communication medium, any number of ways to do that. The second category was a very popular one, using XR to visualize the causes and the impacts of climate change. And we've got a couple folks today presenting from that category. Another popular category was the educate category, that was using XR as a medium to help educate the public about solutions to climate change. And then finally, the fourth category was a little bit more oriented towards professionals, using XR to help optimize the design and execution of climate change solutions. So across those 150 MVPs, all the way down to the finalists at the end, we had a really good diversity of thought and ideas across all of these categories. So what we have here for you tonight, I'm very excited to share, are a handful of the finalists and a few of the winners from the competition. They are, as you can see on screen here, Between Two Worlds, In Situ, Acellus XR, and Mangrove City. And certainly we'll introduce each one of those. We selected these 4 speakers in particular, we kind of curated from the list, because a couple of them hail from New York, In Situ and Acellus, both are from New York and have solutions focused within New York geographically. Of course, Between Two Worlds, across the pond in the UK, but sharing the same Atlantic Ocean, as well as Mangrove City. So this was kind of curated somewhat geographically among the finalists and winners. So with that, I want to introduce Ed Harrison from Between. Ed and his partner from Under the Skin and Virtuosis had the great honor of receiving the grand prize. So we're starting big. We're starting with the grand prize winner from the XR Prize competition. So no pressure, Ed, but you've got to follow up the great award with a great presentation here. And we'll give everybody about maybe 7 minutes or so to present, and then we'll open it up for Q&A following that. So Ed, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Dace. So, yeah, hello. I'm Ed Harrison, and I'm co-founder of Under the Skin, a sideline venture that I started with my brother back in 2015. And we create interactive artwork of endangered species. Where did the project all begin? Interactivity has always been a core part of our project from the start. Under UV light, the skeletons are revealed. All that's left of a species falls into the darkness of extinction. And now we are evolving the idea to help to protect wider habitats and endangered species through this new and innovative augmented reality app created in collaboration with Seb Vals. The app is about awareness, education, action, and ultimately protecting and restoring wildlife to help to combat climate change. Now I'm going to show you a short video of the demo. Our app is called Between Two Worlds, and Seb developed it in Unity. The app is about awareness, education, and action. Our app transforms our framed prints into virtual portals to reveal the animals in their healthy and thriving habitats. But 2 future worlds are possible for each of our animals. One of hope, and the other of destruction. Palm oil plantations are the biggest threat to orangutans today, and clearing the rainforest releases huge amounts of carbon into the atmosphere. Users will have the opportunity to learn, donate, and act. And here's an example of some of the educational content. These are the infographics I designed, and there'll be a palm oil quiz where users can learn about everyday products containing palm oil. Now then, let's dive into the ocean. This is the critically endangered vaquita porpoise. At the click of the button, users are transported to the bottom of the ocean. Illegal gill nets set by poachers trap and suffocate not just vaquitas, but countless other marine animals that are becoming endangered because of these threats. Now I've shown you a short video of the app, but what's next for the build? We deliver impact in 3 ways: learn, donate, and act. We're now evolving the app content to explicitly show how saving an individual species can help to combat climate change. For example, we're going to evolve our infographics to show users can learn about carbon sequestration in an easy to understand and fun format. Gamifying the app will enable users to learn about different environmental issues in a fun and engaging way. For example, a palm oil quiz, where correct answers will plant a tree in the habitat, and getting an incorrect answer will degrade the environment in augmented reality. Following our current business model, we donate 20% of proceeds to our partner NGOs. There'll also be the opportunity for in-app donations. In context of our orangutan charity, there are two sides of their conservation work funded by donations: rainforest conservation and orangutan conservation. Saving orangutans means saving rainforests, which have the potential to store huge amounts of carbon from the atmosphere. The ACT section will empower users to take action through things like petitions against palm oil and the Palm Oil Scan app. So, which species are next? So far, we've focused on protecting habitats to save endangered species and other wildlife. We call them the Wildlife Guardians. Now we're going to focus on a new range of species that help to tackle climate change themselves front on, and we call them the Climate Warriors. This is the new idea. The key difference is saving them saves us. Here's how it works. Scientists are just beginning to understand the interconnected relationship between keystone species in the carbon cycle. Here's one example, the iconic sea otter. Sea urchins are devastating kelp forests which have the potential to store huge amounts of carbon from the atmosphere. But luckily for us, otters, which have a hungry appetite, feed on the sea urchins. This keeps sea urchin populations under control and enables the kelp forest to flourish. This can help carbon storage of kelp forests by up to 1,100% annually. And there's loads of examples out there in the animal kingdom, each one with a fascinating narrative behind the statistic that we can bring to life through augmented reality. This side of the app puts keystone species back into the picture to help restore and rewild ecosystems and help them become more resilient to climate change. And just like the other animals, users will have the opportunity to learn, donate, and act. So how are we going to scale it? We're developing a range of products at different price points to enable this app to go out to a wider audience, from pocket-sized postcards that we call wildcards, all the way up to the UV interactive screen prints that I showed at the start of the presentation. Now, only the large screen prints will have the UV effect, but all of the different products will have the augmented reality functionality, and the app will be free with every print. So how are we going to market it? Partnerships with wildlife NGOs is at the core of our partnership strategy for marketing, and we're so proud to have partnered with some of the biggest wildlife NGOs in the world already. It's a symbiotic relationship. We donate 20% of our proceeds to the NGOs, and in return, the NGOs will promote our products to their global audience through various marketing channels and campaigns. So how are we going to deliver impact? So far, I've talked about how our app can positively impact wildlife and carbon sequestration. But what about human behavior? Some have said we've created a powerful medium of visual storytelling, and we're pushing the boundaries of our activism. Our artwork has already helped museum visitors of all ages engage with big, heavy topics like habitat loss and climate change in fun, accessible, and engaging ways. We've even promoted further discussions of climate change at school, and for us, this is what it's all about. These are our 6-month goals based on current activity, and these are our 12-month goals. We anticipate the launch of our app in conjunction with scaling up our print operation will massively increase traction. We will partner with our charity NGOs and scientists to get stats and figures around the carbon sequestration values that we can share on our journey with our users. Our vision. We can see between two worlds on the walls of schools around the world, with an interactive exhibition touring the globe, in world-renowned galleries and museums, on people's phones in people's homes, so they can learn about the animal kingdom and biodiversity loss and feel empowered to take action on climate change. Thank you. So now for any questions.
Okay. Excellent presentation, Ed. Thanks so much. For those online, by all means, please enter your questions into the chat, the general chat. I'd love to try and take those and feed them to Ed for some dialogue here. While we're waiting for that, I have my own question for you, Ed. First of all, um, I am still excited to have the physical artifacts associated with your project at my desk. Um, that's one of the beauties of this project is it's so accessible, even when there isn't an XR experience or an AR experience. The artwork is still right there in hand. Um, but I guess my question for you, and again, well, I encourage anybody to weigh in here with their own questions. My question to you is, what's next from an XR perspective? Obviously, you've got an augmented reality experience that is directed towards a poster or an artwork, two-dimensional artwork. But where do you see that growing in the future? What are your plans for continuing the development of this idea?
That is a really good question, and I'd say I'll be honest with you, quite a difficult one because up until this point, our team has been so focused on just getting this initial idea refined. But I will move on to your question. But I say my first point is we want to get this idea right, and we're very aware that it's about simplicity, and I think the reason why our app idea is so effective is that it's obviously using a lot of complex interactive technologies. However, there's a beauty in the simplicity in the idea. So, but yeah, there's so much potential for this, and I think what's really exciting is this. We're already seeing, like, just since coming away from the AWE conference, how how XR is taking off. I feel like this is it's a really exciting time for us to be launching this app in conjunction with the technology. So I think the potential is honestly quite limitless. Like with I mean, we already had a conversation at the event about how you could start bringing the experience to life coming out of the frames. That's one idea that, you yourself has offered. Um, I think I think lots of it's going to be limited by the technology on people's phones that people have. What's really exciting is that everyone nowadays carries a phone on their pocket, and 5, 10 years ago that just wasn't the case. So um, I think the sky is the limit, and we're going to continue to push the boundaries of what's possible um, based on what's out there. But I think for us just now, I'm so excited that we've already got a huge range of screen prints of endangered species in partnership with some of the best NGOs in the world. For me, the idea of bringing these to life with animation and augmented reality is so exciting. And my head's, I'm gonna be honest, my head's just fully in that zone at the moment.
No, perfectly fair. Okay, thanks. Ori, I saw AC asked a question. So this is for you, of course, Ed. Before joining the competition, did you see many projects using XR to fight climate change?
Did I see many projects fighting climate change using XR before this competition? No, and I think I didn't. And I think this comes back to my point about, well, this is all credit to AWE as well. Um, my point that I feel like now is a really exciting time to be at the frontier of this technology, and it is obviously aligned with some of the most pressing environmental threats that have been facing us today. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this talk that we started Under the Skin in 2015. That's like 7 years ago. And back then, the mainstream media wasn't talking about climate change, even though scientists have been talking about this issue for decades. So I'm so excited by what's possible, and also very grateful to AWE for, giving this a push. They're pushing creatives like us to be, giving us incentives to be using this technology at this critical time. So while I haven't seen project. I'm sure competitions like this is just gonna get more and more makers and creators out there to be using the technology to be fighting these environmental threats that are so pressing today.
Ed, I think this is all the time we had for questions. So thanks very much. Once again, congratulations on taking home the big prize. And
Thank you.
as you know, the AW community will continue to support this project and, of course, other projects that are helping in the fight against climate change. So always reach out if you need some more help. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Okay, folks, we're moving on. Next, we have a project from New York City, in situ by Dana Hermesh. Dana has been working on this project for at least 5 years. I met her here at the R Lab in Brooklyn at that time, and she had this idea to use AR to help with urban planning, and it's just so wonderful to see how far this project has gone since then, and how today it's actually part of the climate change competition and really contributing in this fight. So give it up for Dana. Take it away.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. As already said, I'm Dana. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, originally from Israel. I live here for the past 6 years, working on In Situ since 2019, beginning of 19, and very fortunate to be part of the AWE community since the very first beginning, and growing with this idea, this company, as the community grows and the industries that these technologies are touching are growing as well. So we were excited to present In Situ as a part of the XR challenge and to be the winners of the optimized category. We come to optimize the process of urban development through augmented reality. The name In Situ means in its natural place, and that's how we all believe that we will all be able and should be able to experience urban change. Our mission, In Situ, is on the mission to bring future cities or the future of cities to life through augmented reality to foster greater collaboration around the process of urban change. The problem is cities are at the forefront of all of our climate and humanity challenges of the 21st century. Policymakers, designers, professionals across the industries put so much effort to effectively build stronger, more resilient communities, but time after time we fail to engage the different stakeholders group and especially the vast majority of the public with these very required and important changes to our cities. I truly believe that cities are the answer to climate change. We cannot keep sprawling anymore. We need to densify them. We need to make them more equitable, more inclusive, more resilient, with better infrastructure, better materials. And all of these processes and changes requires change in policies and the engagement of the public. And unfortunately, all this data is, or not unfortunately, the paradox is this data and this information is publicly available, yet very inaccessible to non-professionals. It is nested in different websites, different platforms, as zoning maps, building codes, Excel sheets, or as bad as some paper on someone's desk. And In Situ take all of these obsolete systems, translate them into a clear, informative, very engaging visualization in augmented reality of these upcoming changes or proposed changes to the built environment. Everything we do for mobile AR. We are really obsessed with building as natural as possible user experience for people to simply walk down the street and see a superimposed future built environment on top of the existing physical world. And therefore, no matter where our data comes from, we channel it through multiple mobile AR channels, from browser-based AR and a web map that is searchable remotely as well, through a mobile app, through app clips that are available on site as a signage, floor decals, kind of calling people to interact with the future of their surroundings, the future that they cannot yet see, and even through integrations to social media, leveraging the capabilities of social media AR. We try to meet people where they are in multiple life events, multiple use cases, to let them explore, again, how their streets are changing. Institute is working across the public and private sectors with real estate developers, foundations, any city builder type of professionals to communicate specific projects, usually the high end or the seawalls, the big neighborhood rezonings to increase density, all of these that needs strong coalition from the public. We work directly with city governments to convert the entire open data, all of the development activity data, into a visualized layer of the future, again, available in AR through mobile, every smartphone. And we even enable our content as an API to also empower other products to layer this visualized future built environment view in other use cases. Why AR? So I think this audience probably, I don't need to convince you, but AR, augmented reality, is highly accessible, especially the mobile AR. Only smartphone is needed, no headsets or demo dependent. Very intuitive. We used to do demos, but we don't do them anymore because people don't need us. We send a link or a QR code and a person knows what to do. And we found the experience to be very empowering, very different. I don't know if any of the people in the audience here have ever attended planning hearing or community meeting. Poor you if yes, I have. I was an architect back in Israel, tried to present projects and saw how very certain type of people are coming to these meetings, usually anxious about what's being shown to them as slides, at the best case scenario. Very different than simply exploring the future around you. So in situ, the first version of the product was launched in 2021. We were very fortunate to have very different types of projects, clients, geographies across the US. And we iterated through the experience of the product as we evolved. Some selected projects, so from mixed-use development in downtown Columbus, Ohio, to multiple development scenarios and kind of a storytelling of a proposal from the very preliminary phases here in Manhattan. This one was viewed by 100,000 views. Again, before it is built, in the very midst of the public engagement phase. As one of our advisors that used to be a mayor told us after we shared this metric, that he never heard about a project or a proposal that was viewed by 100,000 people before it was built. Pedestrian bridge that connected the siloed community with a new waterfront resiliency park in Buffalo, New York. Infill development, so we have the ability to kind of use the existing built environment as an occluder, kind of masking out the existing buildings to build a very realistic view for kind of densifying cities, landmarks, and even animation of construction phases, which is very relevant and relieving for when we try to communicate long-term processes and large projects. We measure our impact since day one, especially the numbers of engagement and the who. So who is engaging? Again, planning hearings, that like the classic process is open to the public, but is not really friendly to working parents, single moms, essential workers, students, young people. So we are able here with this very, very accessible, very low friction experience and tool to truly disrupt the politics of the process, enabling a representative participation from representative audience, much more diverse, much more pro-development. So we enable the streamlining of the process much more effectively. Another thing that we measure is the sentiment. And again, when you tell people about the new developments around them, usually they're afraid, not to say automatically opposing them. And what we found is that the AR itself, just viewing things on their future site as if they are built, make people much more positive and less anxious about these upcoming changes. Beginning of 2023, after we built this tool and were confident in the experience that we've built, we came back to the first vision, I guess, of this should not be built or executed per project, but it should tackle this ineffective open data out there. And we should be able to scale in the city level. And what we did is we took the open data of permits here in New York, restructured it to draw the very specific 3D essentials. So the footprint, the number of floors, the land use that we applied some generating 3D rules to it, number of housing units, setbacks, everything we dumped into our automated pipeline and generated all of the future of New York City. More than 4,000 projects, real proposed and approved projects that no one can see in their eyes in AR. All of them are available through this map, so you can explore later. This map view and web view are also available remotely. So all of these projects are available both on site in this geo-anchored view and remotely if you are home exploring and want to explore things real scale but off-site. As we did that, we needed to build awareness around this. So we had some fun during the winter, going and doing some guerrilla marketing, the team here. We unlocked sites, that's how we call it, when we kind of put this access point of the QR codes on site, and we started tracking how people engage and interact with the content. Ed here talked about how the industry has changed and the world has changed. So definitely, since I started in situ, we see how much people today, post-COVID, really trust QR codes, easily scan them, exploring, not afraid of interacting digitally with the world around them. We have so far, for only few dozens projects that we unlocked, more than 1,500 AR views, and we keep track of also the time in AR. So New Yorkers have spent more than 2 whole days viewing the real future in augmented reality of New York. These 4,000 projects include more than 175,000 real upcoming housing units. So the ability to communicate them at the block level and not through scary numbers that people cannot digest is really key to improve the process, to communicate these solutions to, in this case, housing shortage in New York. Another thing that we do is walks in the future of different New York City neighborhoods. The upcoming one is this Thursday. I think it's the 5th since this spring. Again, another way to engage people with the tool, with this new medium of how you can explore the change of your streets. Another exciting announcement is that we are starting to work with municipalities this summer. We look to onboard cohort of 6 cities to do exactly what we did in New York, take all of their open data about permits and developments and give it back to them as multiple AR experiences that are available in all of the future sites. Excited to share that we already kicked off the work with Washington, D.C. Department of Buildings and with Charleston, South Carolina, and we hope to close on the other 4 soon. Two key partners, so Snap are also, of course, very meaningful in the AR, XR industry. We were in their Ghost Fellowship and now a long life partner. And Esri, the GIS mapping, which together we increase our client base and providing our tool to their clients. Why now? So all of this meeting today here is about how we just don't have time for bad processes. We have luckily a very strong political momentum today. I think everyone acknowledge the need and the urge to solve these problems. The technology is becoming better and better and more ubiquitous. Really, I guess, broke the ceiling of gaming that was the case a few years ago. I think today it's really obvious to everybody that AR, XR in general is going to really disrupt processes that shape our lives. And again, we don't have time for stagnated, counterproductive, exclusive planning. These two are the urban planning heroes of the 1960s in New York, Robert Moses, the big urban planner, and Jane Jacobs, the great urban theorist, who fought each other. And historically, planning was always a fight. I truly believe that AR is a new medium that can help convert this into a conversation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Dana. Hopefully you guys can hear me. My audio seems to have returned. If anybody has any questions for Dana, please offer them in the chat. Lacking that, I'll just ask one here. Curious, obviously there's a lot of connection between urban planning and climate change. You've made that case, and I think it's fairly well known. But I'm curious if you could maybe double down on or just expand on where AR has really advanced that conversation. Just to make it clear, I want to make sure that point just doesn't get lost here. Obviously, there's an AR portion to your solution here, and it's fantastic. But if you can help just kind of make that connection between AR and climate change.
So again, the big changes that are required to deal with climate change to our cities, whether it's increasing density and allowing for mixed use or office to residential conversion to tackle housing shortage and the open office spaces or open or empty retail spaces, lifting buildings in flood risk zones, converting industrial areas to, again, mixed use and much more live and vibrant, removing cars from the street and building bike lanes, redoing infrastructure. All of these are long-term processes that require the policy change. Sometimes it's called rezoning if you need to change the zoning laws. And most of them require the public support. The problem is the data is open, the process is open, but the only people who know about that are a very small subset of the community, and unfortunately it's a small subset that usually have the strong motivation to stop development from happening. So the result is a very lagging, inefficient, very slow process that today I think all of us understand that we can't lose time here. It costs lives to not allow for the rebuild of an infrastructure in a flood risk zone, etc. So what we saw and what we proved is one, that AR is truly a game changer in communicating very effectively these upcoming changes with non-professionals. I think we need the non-professionals. We need the vast majority of the public to feel that it relates to them. When you tell people about city planning, they feel that it's too big or like, oh, I don't know about it, anything, it's not for me, But when you talk with them about this construction across the street that just started and they didn't know about, and you tell them that the data was there for 2 or 3 years, they're shocked. So the ability to communicate such a natural thing, such as spatial world, right? Like none of us need to be an expert to feel the difference between Midtown Manhattan or Santa Clara or another suburb or Brooklyn, right? But somehow we fail to communicate the future of these areas that we will all live in. If we talk about it, if we think about it from a kind of product development perspective, and maybe that's my architect here hat here, our product is the city, is where we will all live, right? So it's, to me, a very natural thing to think that we have to allow the best medium for communicating how this product will impact our lives. I hope that makes sense for the.
No, that's excellent. One architect to another. You're taking the words right out of my mouth here, so I appreciate that. Okay, so I think that's all we've got time for with you, Dana, today. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you
I'm
all.
going to move us ahead to the next speaker, which should make an interesting comparison and contrast. So Daniel Sauter from the Urban Systems Lab was an XR Prize finalist, also with a New York city-based solution, also veering into architecture and planning. So I won't steal your thunder here, Daniel. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dace, for the introduction, and also certainly for Ed and Dana for the important work that you do. There are overlaps, and I'll talk to you today about Ocellus XR, which is a mixed reality application designed to visualize heat and flood-related climate risk in New York City. So we do hear a lot about how climate change is already causing significant damage in cities and is projected to only worsen in coming years. But we don't hear as much about the resources that help us, the nature and the location of those risks. So in New York, recent storms like Ida broke all previous records for extreme rainfall and also caused devastating floods in the city. But it's actually heat waves that cause more deaths than any other hazard, and it's also disproportionately affecting low-income and minority neighborhoods. So tropical storms like Hurricane Sandy made it already clear a decade ago that New Yorkers need actionable information at their fingertips to understand climate risks and to protect their families and communities. And this is why we made Ocellus XR. So Ocellus is a bee's eye view of the world, a single focused lens, and Ocellus XR is our mixed reality application designed to visualize climate risks in New York City. The app builds on research, design, and engagement work of the Urban Systems Lab to foster more equitable and resilient cities and to create tools to understand who, where, and how individuals are exposed to climate change in cities. We believe this work is critical to enable targeted adaptation solutions, and we need to know where they are needed the most. So not only do we need to rapidly decarbonize our economy, but ESG and other priorities must also recognize the coming risks that are already built into the climate systems and take climate adaptation firmly into account. So Ocellus XR, which started as a web platform, allows users to discover social, ecological, and technological infrastructure data live at street level and also remotely by projecting 3D maps of New York City onto physical surfaces. The platform comes preloaded with the latest data from the city and the New York panel on climate change and is designed to support preparedness efforts. To date, there are a few ways for communities to understand where vulnerable populations are exposed to those risks and, more importantly, how the city is mitigating them. So we believe by making this data more accessible and salient for individuals, there is potential to improve preparedness and resiliency planning. Dana already spoke about that earlier. We're not doing this work alone, so we certainly held co-design sessions with local partners and integrated their contributions into the platform to ensure impact. And for example, the graphics and information included in the section "What Can I Do?" was developed by We Act for Environmental Justice, the East Harlem Co-ed, and Harlem Emergency Network as part of the Climate Ready Uptown plan. We've tested the app with stakeholders and captured observation data and also made sure that this was the basis for a roadmap for the product. The Architecture League of New York and the New York State Council for Arts, Architecture, and Design awarded us an independent project grant last year, which got us to this point. underlying the importance of this adaptation information. Since then, we demoed the Ocellus app to the co-chairs of the New York City panel on climate change, who have expressed interest in collaborating. And PCC provides actionable and scientific information on future climate impacts, for which the city has committed more than $20 billion to adaptation efforts. We're launching the Ocellus XR app on August 1st. I'm excited about that, through the app and Play stores, complementing the web platform. And this will happen in tandem with a feature profile produced by the New School's marketing and communication team. And along with the press release, this will get the word out to more than 1,500 educators, students, and the university committee at large. We secured also a partnership with the XR Lab at the New School to hold train-the-trainer sessions and public lab hours, providing support as we roll out the app. Because in our experience, apps are only the starting point to raise questions, especially for complex social, ecological, and technological systems that drive our everyday experience. So we hope in this case to leverage Ocellus XR as a means to not only visualize those risks, but also change how we think about, plan, and design our cities. At the Urban Systems Lab, we're advancing this work with the goal to improve the lives of the most vulnerable and to enhance decision-making and science communication from a local to global scale. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Hey, Daniel, thanks for that presentation. Again, to the audience, any questions for Daniel, please put them in the chat. Happy to get them to him. Lacking that at the moment, Daniel, I guess I've got a question, and it might be a two-part question, so I'll try and combine it. Who would you say is your primary audience for this particular app? I mean, is it the general public versus planners versus architects versus city officials? I mean, just give some thought to that. And then the related question is, are you finding so far any difference in experience from those who take the God's eye view over New York from a few thousand feet up versus the more egocentric point of view, the first person point of view down in the streets, and how are people reacting to one versus the other experience?
Thanks for those questions. You're asking good questions, Dace. I'm not sure why. So the first one is that clearly this work comes out of 5 years of sitting at tables where there were visioning sessions with community representatives, with NGOs, with city planners and researchers that we've conducted in 10 cities in the Americas. And that means tables, very well organized vision session, making qualitative assessments, discussions, lots of plans, lots of maps on tables, people putting sticky notes up. So during those times, we knew that in order to make this truly a connected effort amongst these distinct cities and places that have the same problem, in order to network with each other and also have a two-way communication between them, we needed something that would be empowered through a web platform. So, we set this up first. We set that up for the 10 cities and went from there. So the second part of the question, or let's say it's never a versus, but because we are in a university and a research environment, we go through the educational channel first. Certainly people ask us for study guides, curriculum, help with providing evidence for even other types of activities in a community education sector. So we work with those partners in New York in terms of community engagement as well as education first. But that's more sort of a roadmap question, not a versus. There's exactly no versus, and essentially working with New York panel on climate change, it is also important that these reports that are being put out for those science communication efforts are also being able to feedback. So our dream is a truly two-way science communication platform, which is a serious undertaking for anybody who has produced software before. And the XR angle now, to answer the second part of the question, is one that the shift between groups of people around projected surfaces around the same environment, as well as individuals at street level, it has to be able to do both. There is that disconnect of this bird's eye view, planner view, which is sort of a remoteness, a removedness, and a God's eye view that really doesn't necessarily help to really care about your block and your neighborhood. At the same time, if it's disconnected from that, everything I said so far is cut off. It's a one-way street. So therefore, we need both. For us, it closes a gap between expert audiences who are fine to look at the shapefile or a 12 gigabyte raster and are okay with that, and somebody who needs to basically tell their family why this air conditioning program of the city is actually relevant and a good investment in terms of mitigating heat. So I hope I touched on both. But it's not a versus. I have to basically cross out each one of the verses and translate it more into a roadmap than a versus. I hope that makes sense.
Sure. Yep. No, that's a great answer. It's not an either or, it's both and. I appreciate that. Okay, so with that, Daniel, thanks so much for your time and your thoughtful presentation. We're going to move on to our final speaker now. Kim Grinfetter from the University of Miami will close us out with his presentation about Mangrove City, which was also a best of category winner for the XR Prize. So Kim, if you are ready, please take it away.
All right, I'm ready. Thanks for having me. I'm here to talk about Mangrove City. I'm a professor at the University of Miami, and I'm representing the team who put this together. This was a group effort between architecture, interactive media, and Erasmus, which is a marine science school. So what is Mangrove City? Mangrove City is a VR experience designed for middle school students to explore the crucial role of mangrove forests in protecting coastal communities and mitigating climate change. We aim to empower teachers and provide students with a sense of hope and belief that they can make a difference. And it was really interesting seeing all these city planning tools, and I hope they incorporate mangroves soon, because a lot of cities live in mangrove zones, which is that intertidal zone, low areas. So why did we do mangroves, and why did we decide to focus on mangroves? Well, we're in Miami, and mangroves are migrating north and south as the planet warms up. But even today, if we take the top 10 cities have mangrove ecosystems in it, we're talking about a population of over 130 million. They are critical in helping preserve coastal ecosystems and coastal cities. Right now, we're working with Pratham, a nonprofit at the University of, in India, that is helping us translate this into Hindi, Bengali, and Marathi. So we hope to launch this in India soon as we do it. Well, I wanted to show you a little bit of Mangrove City before I start talking about it. So this will give you an idea of what it is. So I have a 3-minute clip here that just kind of shows you the gameplay through Mangrove City that we have right now.
Go ahead and grab the top and center of your paddle. Now dip the paddle in the water and drag to move forward. Keep paddling to explore a mangrove. Perfect! Between land and sea exists a mysteriously interconnected world. A world full of secrets that help us learn about living with rising tides. Seemingly unexplored by most, this ancient forest is one of the world's most important and productive ecosystems. These forests provide a variety of services for our Earth, aiding the survival of plants, wildlife, and humans. From meandering roots beneath the calm waters to the mysteries that lie deep within the foliage, mangroves have evolved unique adaptations essential to combat future environmental changes and act as a shield to keep us safe. This is Mangrove City, where humans coexist harmoniously within this ancient world. By protecting mangrove forests, we can safeguard against the devastating effects of coastal erosion and maintain a healthy and productive coastal environment. Without mangroves, the waves wash up on the shore and wash away the soil. Grab a mangrove to plant it in the shallow area in front of the seashore, and watch how this impacts coastal erosion on the seaside. Mangroves provide an ideal habitat for fish throughout their life cycle, including their juvenile stage, and are home to a great variety of fish species, some of which have local socioeconomic importance.
So the story plot takes us.
Go ahead and grab the top and
Let me go through the next page. Okay. The story plot takes us through this mangrove forest that really leads us through this futuristic city where we learn how to coexist with mangroves. The learning outcomes for Mangrove City are awareness of climate change, knowledge of mangrove ecosystem, environmental stewardship, problem solving, critical thinking, empathy and connection to nature, and inspiration for future pathways. And that's really a lot that we're trying to accomplish with this app. So how are we doing this? We're empowering teachers, and we are creating free downloadable classroom materials. It's free to use from the Oculus store, and we will show up and present at environmental teachers and conferences. And we're using existing networks from previous projects that we worked for. But the main idea is to just is to allow teachers to leverage this to make their classroom more fun and useful. I also wanted to thank AWE because we're using some of the prize money to create the curriculum that's going to accompany. Here are some sample teaching materials that we have for this. And I really believe when we think about creating impact in a classroom, we really have to think about a hybrid classroom strategy. We need to start with the teachers. And it's not about us. We need to work within the restraints. Teachers, especially in Florida, work within extremely stressful environments. You need to align your project with their curriculum. They're not going to teach something just because you think it's important. It's something that we started off with Mangrove City is understanding what they have to teach and then aligning our project with that. XR alone is not enough for creating an impact. We really needed to bleed into the real world. And that's why I like some of the projects that we had in the XR climate strategy, is because they really have this hybrid strategy between the real world and XR. And I think that's really important. It's not something that you have to wait for this magical, super slim glasses that are going to show you the impact between the real world and the digital world. These are things that you can do now, but you have to think about it as hybrid strategies. And, learning in XR is like learning at Hogwarts. Take advantage of it. You can do all sorts of things. It's a lot of fun. So really take advantage. I also wanted to take a minute to thank AWE for all their support with this strategies. So if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer.
Great. Thanks so much, Kim. If anybody has any last-minute questions here for Kim as we close the session out, please offer it in the chat. Happy to bring that to the front. If not, Kim, I'll just ask a quick question. As those of you may have been keeping score here for the past hour may have noticed, Kim's presentation here, the Mangrove City, was the only true VR solution. The others were a little bit more on the mixed reality or augmented reality end of the spectrum. So Kim, just curious if you've given any thought to, or if you could just give us a very brief glimpse into the thought process you use, or why did you pick VR over AR, or is there any opportunity for an AR solution as part of Mangrove City?
I think Mangrove City is really has to be done in VR. We really wanted to explore the interaction, this cognitive learning of having to paddle through an environment. We think about a lot of the VR interactions today are really kind of like click on this button. We're still learning. We're still using the same 2D models to navigate through VR, and we wanted to create something that allowed us to navigate using the true potential of VR, which is your entire body. And that's the only way to do that is in VR. It really allows us to immerse ourselves in a different environment. It allows teachers to take their students on a field trip without being destructive to the environment, and at an affordable price. I mean, there's things that just are really only possible with VR, and we wanted to take a full advantage of that.
Yeah. So not yet ready to put students on paddle boards in the ocean wearing expensive displays.
Not yet, no.
Okay, well, excellent. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the presentation and just the sliver of thoughtful dialogue here at the end. With that, I would like to kind of bring the session to a close, and once again thank all of our speakers today, Ed, Dana, Danielle, and Kim. Great presentations from all of you. Wonderful to see these projects, and happy to have you have the opportunity to share those here with the folks here in New York. Ori, I don't know if you have any final words here to really close us out.
First of all, thank you for running this program for the last year and bringing these fantastic presenters for us today. For those of you who want to continue the conversation with them, feel free to reach out to them directly. I guess LinkedIn is probably the best way. They're all eager to hear your questions, your feedback, and continued support. So that's really important. The whole idea is that this is not just a one-year thing. This is just the beginning of leveraging XR to help with the fight against climate change, and that's what DACE is up for doing moving forward. So once again, thanks to all our speakers today. Thank you all for joining us, for your questions. This video will be available for on-demand viewing here and on YouTube. So hopefully we'll see more people will be able to experience it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.